What if I told you that there's one single position that works for the majority of women, one simple adjustment that could completely change her experience? Hi, gentlemen. I'm Dr. Selena Clarke, a urologist with over 10 years of experience helping men understand what actually works when it comes to intimacy and connection. And today I'm going to share something that might shift the way you think about satisfaction forever. Most men go through life using the same familiar approaches, the same few techniques they learned by accident, from friends, or from what they've seen in movies. It's what feels comfortable, what seems to get the job done. But what if I told you that most of those methods actually miss what truly matters for most women? According to decades of research, there's one specific technique developed by psychotherapist Edward Eichel back in the 1980s that increased satisfaction rates for women by over 50% in controlled studies. Yes, 50% more satisfaction from one small strategic change. Now, before you think you already know what I'm talking about, slow down. Because this isn't about stamina or lasting longer or being more intense. This is about something far more important, understanding how her body actually responds to stimulation and learning to work with her biology instead of pushing against it. Once you grasp this, it completely changes how you approach connection, and it will likely transform the way she experiences you too. Let's begin with the science. You've probably never been taught how female satisfaction really works, and that's not your fault. Our culture doesn't explain this properly. Most of what men learn comes through guessing or imitation. But here's the truth backed by research. Only about 20% of women reach full satisfaction through traditional movement alone. That means roughly 80% of women need a little more, something additional that standard approaches simply don't provide. What's missing? The focus. Most men are conditioned to think that depth and speed are the key elements of pleasure, but research consistently shows that those two things matter far less than we've been led to believe. What truly matters is contact with the external pleasure center, the area that contains more than 8,000 nerve endings, the most concentrated network of sensitivity in the human body. The problem is, most common techniques barely touch this area at all. So even when everything seems to be going well, most of the stimulation isn't reaching where it needs to. That's the real reason satisfaction feels inconsistent or incomplete for so many couples. This is exactly what the special method I'm going to share with you fixes. But before I show you how it works, let's talk about why this is especially important for men over 50. As we age, intimacy changes. The body's responses evolve, energy levels shift, and sometimes there's more pressure to perform. Many men start to wonder if they still have what it takes to create fulfilling experiences. The good news is you absolutely do. In fact, you have an advantage that younger men often lack: patience, awareness, and the willingness to actually listen and learn. Younger men tend to rush, focusing on quick results or performance, while women, particularly mature women, value rhythm, patience, and emotional presence. This is where the method known as the Coital Alignment Technique, or CAT, comes in. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter, understanding the natural design of her body and how to move in harmony with it. At first glance, CAT looks very similar to the standard face-to-face position most couples are familiar with, but there's one subtle yet powerful difference that makes all the impact. Instead of positioning yourself directly level, you shift slightly upward along her body so that your base aligns with her most sensitive external zone. Then, rather than the traditional back and forth motion, you focus on a gentle rocking movement, an up and down rhythm that maintains continuous contact with her most responsive area. This small change keeps constant stimulation where it counts, enhancing her experience significantly. Studies published in reputable journals like the Journal of Sex and Marital Therapy have shown that when couples use this method, women report a 56% increase in satisfaction compared to traditional approaches. That's an enormous difference from one simple adjustment. And it's not just about pleasure, it's about connection. CAT encourages both partners to move together in sync, creating a steady rhythm where both bodies communicate naturally. The male partner gently guides the downward motion, while the female partner leads the upward one. This coordinated movement builds intimacy, gradually increasing intensity and deepening the bond between you. To start, you use the same initial position you already know, but then make a small shift upwards so that your chest aligns roughly with her shoulders. That slight change changes everything. It repositions your hips so that the base makes contact with her outer sensitive zone. From there, instead of thrusting, you move as one unit, rocking together slowly, focusing on rhythm over speed. It's not about performance, it's about awareness. When you do this right, the feedback is immediate. Her breathing changes, her muscles relax or draw you closer, her reactions tell you you're exactly where you need to be. This technique takes patience. It's less about intensity and more about synchronization. You're not just moving, you're listening. You're learning to respond to her signals. The essence of cat is cooperation, not control. The more you practice it, the more naturally your rhythms will align, creating an experience that feels deeper, more connected, and far more satisfying for both of you. And while this one technique works for most couples, there's another approach that some partners prefer even more, a variation that gives her full control while still engaging the same sensitive areas. It's the forward-facing woman on top position, and it's one of the most effective setups for maximizing pleasure and mutual connection. But before we explore that one, I want you to really absorb this idea. Satisfaction doesn't come from effort alone. It comes from alignment, physical, emotional, and psychological. You don't have to be younger, stronger, or faster. You simply have to be present, aware, and willing to adapt. When you understand her body and learn to work with it, instead of relying on trial and error, everything changes. That's the power of applying science to intimacy. It turns something uncertain into something you can actually master through care, patience, and genuine connection. Now let's talk about that second method, the one many experts call the most universally satisfying for women. It's a variation of the forward-facing woman on top position, and it has gained recognition among therapists and researchers for its unique benefits. What makes it so effective is that it naturally aligns the areas that need the most stimulation while giving her complete control over rhythm, pressure, and angle. When a woman is on top, she has the freedom to move in ways that work best for her body without the pressure of keeping up with someone else's pace. This sense of control often helps her relax and focus entirely on pleasure, which is key to deep satisfaction. Here's why it works so well. About 96% of women require some degree of external stimulation to reach full satisfaction. That means the position must allow for continuous natural contact with the outer pleasure center, which most standard movements don't provide. When she's on top and leaning slightly forward, her body naturally makes contact with the pelvic bone of her partner, stimulating exactly the area that needs attention. Instead of bouncing, she can rock forward and back in a smooth rhythm, creating friction precisely where it matters most. The movement doesn't have to be big or fast. Gentle, steady rocking creates the right combination of stimulation and emotional connection. For her, this means being able to adjust everything, the angle, the depth, the rhythm, to her comfort and sensitivity. For him, it's about letting go of control and focusing on support. Your role here is simple. Stay relaxed, stay steady, and give her the space to explore what feels best. Rest your hands on her hips or thighs for balance, but avoid trying to control her motion. This is her time to lead. Once she finds her pace and rhythm, you can begin to move subtly with her, syncing your motion so it feels natural and shared. When both partners move together with understanding, it becomes a true partnership. Less about performance, more about connection. The beauty of this position lies not only in the physical sensation, but also in the psychological dynamic it creates. She feels empowered and in tune with her own pleasure, while you experience the closeness and trust that comes from letting her take control. That emotional exchange is powerful. It builds intimacy and confidence for both of you. Many men find that when they stop trying to direct the experience and instead focus on responsiveness, the entire encounter becomes more fulfilling. Now, here's an important insight. Whether you use the cat technique or the woman on top variation, one additional step can dramatically increase effectiveness: manual stimulation. This isn't just a bonus, it's an essential part of understanding real female satisfaction. Research from Emory University and other studies show that around 7 in 10 women need some form of external stimulation, even when the position itself is ideal. That means adding a layer of touch, either from you or from her, can turn a good experience into something extraordinary. If you're using cat, your hands are free, which means you can easily add gentle stimulation while maintaining the rocking rhythm. The key word here is gentle. Light, consistent touch is far more effective than intensity. You're not trying to overwhelm her senses. You're trying to synchronize with them. The goal is harmony, not speed. When she's on top, she can use her natural body movement, her fingers, or an external tool to enhance contact if she chooses. This can feel vulnerable for some women, so reassurance is vital. Let her know that her enjoyment is deeply attractive to you, that seeing her in control and confident is part of what makes the experience meaningful. That reassurance alone can make her feel safer, more open, and more responsive. Now let's talk about a few common mistakes that many couples make without realizing it. Mistakes that can completely ruin the benefits of these methods. The first mistake is going too fast. Both cat and the woman on top position rely on rhythm, not speed. When you rush, you lose that rhythm, and the steady friction that creates satisfaction disappears. Think of it like a dance. If one person rushes ahead, the coordination breaks down. Start slow, stay patient, and let the intensity build naturally. The second mistake is forgetting to communicate. Every woman's sensitivity is slightly different. Some respond better to higher pressure, others prefer lighter touch. The only way to know is to ask and observe. Communication doesn't have to break the mood. Simple questions like, does this feel good? Or do you want more pressure? Show care and confidence. When you communicate, she feels safe and heard, and that emotional safety enhances physical pleasure more than most men realize. The third mistake is focusing too much on your own finish. It's easy to get caught up in performance, wondering if you're lasting long enough, doing it right, or living up to expectations. But the moment you shift your focus inward, you stop paying attention to her cues. The best way to stay connected is to stay present with her. Pay attention to her breathing, her sounds, how her body moves. Those small signals guide you better than any instruction ever could. When she senses that your attention is fully on her body naturally responds. And finally, mistake number 4, giving up too soon. These techniques, like anything worthwhile, take practice. The first few times might feel awkward or unfamiliar, especially if you're used to traditional movement. That's normal. Don't get discouraged. Coordination develops over time, and once it clicks, it feels effortless. Think of it as learning a rhythm together, one that strengthens your bond every time you practice. The more you focus on understanding and patience, the more naturally your bodies will communicate. This is what separates good experiences from great ones, not intensity, but awareness. The secret of real satisfaction lies in rhythm, communication, and presence. Now, before we move into the final part, I want you to remember this truth. These methods work because they're rooted in biology, not guesswork. They're not about tricks or secret moves. They're about aligning with how the body is designed to respond. Cat and Woman on Top both maximize external contact, which is exactly what most women need to reach full satisfaction. But what truly transforms the experience is not just the technique, it's your mindset. Let's bring everything together. You've learned about 2 techniques that are backed by science and proven to increase satisfaction: the Coital Alignment Technique and the forward-facing woman on top position. But beyond the mechanics, what truly makes these approaches powerful is the intention behind them. They shift the focus from performance to connection, from pressure to presence. When you approach intimacy this way, you're no longer trying to prove anything. Instead, you're creating space for mutual discovery, comfort, and real pleasure. Here's the truth most men never hear. The goal isn't to impress her, it's to connect with her. Real satisfaction doesn't come from strength, speed, or duration. It comes from awareness, patience, and rhythm. Women feel pleasure most deeply when they sense genuine attention. When you slow down, stay present, and respond to her body, it tells her she's being seen, valued, and understood. That emotional reassurance creates safety, and safety is what allows true physical pleasure to unfold naturally. So how do you make these techniques part of your connection routines? Start simple. The next time you're together, try the cat adjustment. Don't announce it or make it a big moment. Just make that small upward shift and begin a slow rocking motion instead of thrusting. Focus on your breathing, match her rhythm, and stay aware of her reactions. You'll know it's working when you feel her drawing you closer, when her breathing deepens, and when the moment starts to feel effortless. Then, during another encounter, try the woman on top variation. Encourage her to take the lead. Let her move at her pace and support her with your hands or by guiding her balance if needed. Watch how she naturally finds the rhythm that feels right for her body. Once she does, gently join in, syncing your motion to hers. Let her control the pace. This is where she feels most empowered. And if she adds manual stimulation or body contact, don't see it as competition. It's enhancement. Encourage it. It's a sign she feels comfortable enough to explore fully with you. Throughout both techniques, remember that communication is your foundation. Talking about what feels good or what needs adjusting shouldn't feel awkward. It's a sign of maturity. Ask her afterward what she liked most, what felt different, what she'd love more of. These conversations build trust and deepen intimacy. The more you talk, the more confident and connected you both become. Now let's touch on something equally important: mindset. Too many men enter intimacy with the idea that it's a performance, a moment where they must prove their ability or stamina. That mindset creates pressure, and pressure is the enemy of pleasure. When you're worried about outcomes, you stop paying attention to the experience itself. You start focusing on doing it right rather than feeling it right. Shift your focus. Instead of performance, think participation. Instead of achievement, think connection. When you do that, everything else naturally improves. The science backs this up. Studies repeatedly show that satisfaction increases dramatically when partners prioritize emotional presence over technique alone. The reason is simple. The brain and the body are deeply connected. When she feels emotionally secure and seen, her body relaxes, blood flow increases, and her physical sensitivity rises. You don't need to push harder, you just need to create the right conditions for her body to respond. So how do you cultivate that kind of presence? Start with awareness. Slow your pace. Notice how she reacts to each movement, each change in rhythm. Listen, not just with your ears, but with your attention. Her body language tells you everything. The way her hands move, how she breathes, how she looks at you, all of these are signals. Respond to them with patience, and you'll find the rhythm that works naturally for both of you. Also understand that mastery takes time. If the first few tries feel awkward or uncertain, that's normal. Every couple needs time to learn how to move together. Think of it like learning a song. Each of you brings a rhythm, and over time, you learn to harmonize. Once you do, it feels effortless, fluid, and deeply satisfying. The key is to keep practicing with curiosity instead of frustration. Now let's revisit why this matters so much. Only a small percentage of women reach full satisfaction through traditional movement alone. That means most men, despite their best efforts, have been missing the mark simply because they were never taught the biology. TAT and Woman on Top solve that by design. They increase continuous contact with the outer pleasure center, which is responsible for most female satisfaction. These methods aren't tricks, they're science in action. When you combine them with communication, manual stimulation, and a calm, connected mindset, you're giving her exactly what her body is built to respond to. But here's the deeper truth. The most powerful thing you can bring to any intimate moment isn't a specific technique, it's attention. When she feels you're genuinely present, that you care about her pleasure as much as your own, her trust deepens. That trust changes everything. It transforms intimacy from something physical into something profoundly emotional. And when both emotional and physical satisfaction align, that's when experiences become unforgettable. So here's your simple action plan moving forward. This week, try one of these methods. Start with cat. Focus on rocking, not thrusting. Keep steady rhythm and watch her reactions closely. Next time, try the woman on top variation and encourage her to take full control. Add manual touch when it feels natural and communicate throughout. Afterward, talk openly about what worked. These small adjustments, awareness, rhythm, and communication, are what build mastery. And one more thing, patience. Don't rush the process. Learning to truly connect takes time, but every step brings you closer. The goal isn't to perfect a move, it's to grow together through understanding. Every moment of patience, every bit of curiosity builds trust, and trust is what allows passion to flourish. If what you've learned here gives you something practical you can apply tonight, then share it. Talk to your partner. Pass it on to a friend who could benefit. Because when more men learn what really works, relationships everywhere become stronger, more respectful, and far more satisfying. Remember, satisfaction isn't about trying harder, it's about understanding better. It's about working with biology, not against it. When you approach intimacy as a shared exploration instead of a task, you create connection that lasts far beyond the moment. Stay curious, stay kind, and above all, stay present. Because real connection isn't something you perform, it's something you feel together.